Welcome to the Cybersecurity Happy Hour podcast. I am your host, Christie, and this is episode 32. And the topic for this episode is the changes to the ISO 27001 standard. I'm looking at version 22. Now, before we go into discussion of the standard, the last major change of the ISO 27001 standard was in 2013, and this current change just took place last year. So what are the ISO standards? So we have the ISO 27001, which is the main standard, and we have the ISO 27002, which is the implementation guide. The ISO 27001 is a global international standard for information security. And what the advantage of this standard, it allows organizations or businesses to ensure that the information assets is really secure. So it gives a risk-based approach to information security. And one of the key ways of achieving or meeting this standard is the ISMS, which is the Information Security Management System, will enable organizations to assess their risk, to identify their risk first of all, and then mitigate and then manage those risks afterwards. Now, the ISO 27002, as I said, is an implementation guide. So you have the ISO 27001 standard, and okay, yes, you're going to go through the standards, okay, how I'm going to implement these controls. Then ISO 27002 is there to assist organizations to implement the best practices of the ISMS. Now, another thing I would like to highlight, that an organization can be certified to the ISO 27001 standard. However, they cannot be certified to the ISO 27002. It's impossible. It doesn't exist. Okay. So if, for example, if a company says to you, I'm ISO 27002 certified, you say, no, that's not correct. One cannot can't be certified to 27002. So, as I mentioned, the changes. What are these changes? The old standard, the old ISO standard, 27001 standard, was last revised 2013. And the latest standard that we're working from now, is the ISO 27002 2022, and that was published on October 25th last year, which is 2022. So what are the key differences here from the 2013 version? So again, the new version is complete with cybersecurity, privacy protection, and information security. The numbering structure has changed, so the numbering has been restructured. Secondly, the requirements to define the processes needed for implementing the ISMS and the interactions. The explicit requirements to communicate to organization roles that's relevant to the ISMS within the organization. There's a new clause 6.3 which has been added, which is planning of changes. There is also a new requirement that ensures that organization determines how to communicate as part of what clause 7.4. There's also a new requirement to establish the criteria for operation processes and implement control of these processes. Now, Annex A controls has seen the greatest change. Annex A controls of version 2013 contains 114 controls, and this was divided into 14 chapters. Now, again, with the new revision of the ISO 27002 version, it now contains 93 controls divided over 14 chapters. So the new section of the IEC 27002 22 controls are Section 5. The organization has set 37 controls. Section 6. People have 8 controls. Section 7. Physical has 14 controls. And Section 8. Technology have 34 controls. So therefore, 35 controls remain unchanged. 23 of these old controls remain renamed and renamed them. 57 controls were merged to form the 24 controls, and 11 new controls were added. So for instance, 5.23 covers information security for use of cloud services. 5.30 addresses ICT readiness for business continuity. 5.7 addresses threat intelligence. 7.4 physical security monitoring, so what control do you have in place to monitor physical security. 8.1 data masking. 8.9 configuration management. 8.10 information deletion. 8.12 data leakage prevention. 8.16 monitoring activities. 8.23 web filtering, and 8.2 secure coding. The question is, okay, now that the new standard has been released, I said October 25th, can I still be certified to the 27001-2013 standard? So if you're an organization that hasn't been certified at all, you can complete your implementation based on the old standard 2013 version and become certified until the end of October. So October 31st of this year, 2023. I'm going forward in time. Then you have, once you've been certified, then you have 2 years to make that transition from the 2013 version to the 2022 version. Now, then you say, okay, what if I want to be certified to the new standard, which is the 27001-2022 version? Okay, so the certification body, so this is the third-party auditors that once you have everything in place, they need to ensure that their own documentation are updated first. So the accreditation body, certification body, has up to October 31st, 2023 to ensure that the registers have changed and the auditing documentation. Yes, you can be certified to the 2022 version. However, you may need to highlight your SOA, your statement of applicability, showing the 2013 controls. And then once your certification body has obviously gone through their own transition, then you can obviously transit from there. A lot of accreditation bodies, we're working with these certification companies to obviously make sure that smooth transition is smooth, really, and allows the work to be done. So that's why we have that grace period, so that everything's in place. If the certification bodies are not really ready, they can't really certify. You can't get the certification. That's why your SOA should refer to the controls that is in the previous standard, 2013 standard. And the ISO 27002 2022 will be used as a reference guide. Again, the question asks what changes, or how will the 27001 version 2022 change affect my current ISO 27001 certificate? That means you've been certified already. Okay, so the new changes won't affect your current certificate. However, if you're looking to obviously transit to the 2022 latest version, advice is like you should do some sort of readiness assessment, create some implementation plan, do things like review your current ISMS documentation, review your procedures, your processes. Essentially, you're sort of doing like a gap analysis, really. And then implement any new controls. And then you definitely need to update your statement of applicability. Okay, so that your SOA needs to be updated. And then this will be reviewed again when it's time for your surveillance audit. Now, thank you once again for listening. I just really wanted to go over these new changes. And the Cybersecurity Happy Hour podcast, we're going to be starting the ISO series, but I really want to start with these new changes that you may be familiar with, but some organizations may not be familiar with. I just want to give a brief summary before we actually go into step-by-step nitty-gritty of how to implement a 27001 process. So just understand the implementation process and also the stage 1 and stage 2 process getting certified. Now, thank you once again for listening, and I'll see you next time.